In the spring of 1940, the Allies weren't just losing the war. They were on the edge of total collapse. Nearly 400,000 British and French soldiers were pushed to the sea, trapped on the beaches of northern France. Behind them, the full force of the German army. In front of them, the cold waters of the English Channel. They weren't supposed to survive. Hitler expected them to surrender. The world expected Britain to fall next. But what happened at Dunkirk became one of the most dramatic rescues in military history. A moment when civilians, fishermen, and ordinary people helped turn a disaster into a miracle. This is Dunkirk, how the Allies got trapped. When Germany launched its invasion of France and the Low Countries on May 10, 1940, the world was stunned by the speed of the attack. Instead of striking the heavily defended Maginot Line, German armored divisions moved through the Ardennes, a forest Allied commanders believed tanks could never cross. But the Germans did. Their blitzkrieg shattered the front in days, splitting British and French forces apart. As German troops surged forward, they cut off southern escape routes, isolating hundreds of thousands of Allied soldiers. What remained was a single path of retreat, north toward the beaches of Dunkirk. Suddenly, entire armies were stranded with almost no supplies and no protection. Surrounded, exhausted, and pushed against the sea, they realized no reinforcements were coming. They were trapped with nowhere left to run. The Germans close in. By the end of May, German armored units were closing the distance to Dunkirk, coming within just a few miles of the trapped Allied forces. Above the beaches, German aircraft launched constant attacks, bombing soldiers, ships, supply lines, and any vessel attempting to reach the shore. The situation was so desperate that British leaders privately estimated that only around 30,000 men could realistically be rescued out of nearly 400,000. The rest were expected to die or be taken prisoner. But losing the British Expeditionary Force would mean losing the war. Britain understood that if these soldiers didn't return, the nation would have no army left to defend its homeland against Hitler. Faced with potential catastrophe, the British government realized that extraordinary measures were needed. Something bold and radical had to be done immediately. Operation Dynamo begins. On May 26, 1940, Britain launched Operation Dynamo, a massive evacuation effort to rescue the trapped soldiers at Dunkirk. The basic strategy seemed simple. Use destroyers and larger naval ships to pick up troops from the beaches, shield them with air support, and transport them safely across the channel. In practice, almost everything went wrong. Dunkirk's harbor was shallow, preventing big ships from coming close. German aircraft bombed continuously, sinking vessels and causing chaos. Tens of thousands of soldiers crowded the long beaches, waiting in fear with little cover. The Royal Navy quickly realized it didn't have enough large ships to rescue everyone. Facing disaster, British commanders made a bold and desperate decision. They turned to an unexpected solution, one that would change the entire outcome of the evacuation. The little ships. A call for help went out across southern England. Any vessel capable of crossing the channel was needed immediately for Dunkirk. The response was extraordinary. Hundreds of civilian boats, motorboats, fishing vessels, small yachts, lifeboats, barges, and simple pleasure craft answered. Many were owned by ordinary families. Some were operated by fishermen, others by teenagers, and some by elderly sailors who volunteered themselves rather than sending younger crews. These tiny boats risked dangerous waters, enemy aircraft, and even mines to reach the trapped soldiers. They were not built for war, but they were built for courage. Their mission was not to fight, but to save lives. This unlikely fleet became known as the Little Ships of Dunkirk, a symbol of unity, bravery, and the determination of ordinary people in extraordinary times. The evacuation. For 9 days, the beaches of Dunkirk became a brutal mix of terror and hope. German bombers circled overhead, dropping explosives that sent sand and debris flying. Ships burned offshore. Long lines of soldiers waded waist-deep in freezing water, praying to be rescued. Many watched as men beside them were killed. Despite the chaos, the evacuation continued. Small boats shuttled soldiers from the shoreline to larger vessels farther out. Some men used wooden planks or doors to float, others swam, and many stood in the open with nothing but faith that help would come. Above them, the Royal Air Force fought intense battles against the Luftwaffe, losing aircraft but preventing even worse destruction. Though imperfect and dangerous, each passing hour brought more rescued soldiers and a growing sense that survival was possible. The miracle. By June 4th, the final day of evacuation, even the architects of Operation Dynamo were stunned by the results. Instead of the expected 30,000 men, a staggering 338,000 soldiers had been rescued from Dunkirk's beaches and harbor. This included nearly the entire British Expeditionary Force, along with tens of thousands of French and Belgian troops. Militarily, it wasn't a victory. France was lost, and the Allies had abandoned tanks, vehicles, and weapons. But Dunkirk wasn't about winning a battle. It was about saving the army that Britain needed to continue fighting. Without those men, Britain might have been forced to surrender or negotiate with Hitler. Because they escaped, the war carried on. Dunkirk became known as a miracle not for triumph, but for survival against impossible odds. Hitler's strange decision. One of Dunkirk's most puzzling moments came from Hitler himself. He ordered his tanks to halt, just as German armored forces were close enough to crush the remaining Allied troops. He paused the advance for nearly 2 days. Historians still debate why. Some argue that Hitler wanted the Luftwaffe to claim the victory from the air. Others believe German commanders feared the marshy terrain around Dunkirk. A third theory suggests Hitler hoped Britain might accept a peace deal if spared total destruction. Whatever the motive, the delay proved critical. Those 48 hours allowed hundreds of thousands of Allied soldiers to escape. Had the tanks continued their attack, Dunkirk might have ended as a devastating German triumph, possibly ending the war in 1940. Instead, the halt created one of history's most important escapes. Dunkirk is remembered as a miracle, but also as a warning. It showed how quickly a modern army can collapse, how chaos can swallow millions, how one order or one delay can change the fate of nations. But more than anything, Dunkirk became a symbol of resilience. Ordinary people, tiny boats, an army rescued from annihilation. Dunkirk didn't win the war, but without it, there would have been no Battle of Britain, no D-Day, no liberation of Europe. Dunkirk was survival, and survival was enough to keep hope alive.